Heads up, this podcast isn't therapy. It's bold, blunt, and irreverent, but it's not a substitute for professional help. Full disclaimer is in the blurb below.
Okay, so last week a few people were asking me in conversation about the ick. So that delightful moment when someone you were happily dating suddenly repulses you for absolutely no apparent reason. One day you're thinking, wow, this person is so lovely, maybe even relationship material. And the next day you're watching how they eat and you want to just run. The ick is not subtle. It arrives like a psychic slap, and once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. No amount of positive affirmations is going to make slurping attractive again. So, you'll have lots of people telling you that the ick is just avoidant attachment, but let's be real. If hundreds of thousands of people are watching things on the ick, they're not all secretly card-carrying avoidance. Sometimes the ick is your body's very blunt way of saying, nope, not for me. Sometimes it's projection collapsing. Sometimes it's your nervous system screaming, warning, do not mate with this person in Barbie or Star Trek pajamas. So in this relationship autopsy, I'm going to outline why it shows up, whether you should trust it, and whether it's just your own intimacy issues, giving you material to work through. Everybody's had the ick at some stage, but after I outline all of this, you'll be able to actually see things far more clearer. So before we dive in, let me be clear, your decisions are your own. I'm not here to tell you whether the ick means you should leave someone or stick around. What I'm going to do is outline all the different elements that the ick can possibly be psychologically. Because no, it does not mean that you're avoidantly attached. I've had it. You've had it if you're listening to this. Everybody's had it. The ick is not some rare disease reserved for a broken few. It's part of the human experience. We have all felt it with dates. We've felt it with friends. We've even felt it with brands or celebrities. So that sudden, inexplicable shift from attraction to repulsion. So first things first, let me define it. What exactly is the ick? Where does it come from? And why is it so potent that once you've felt it, sometimes there is no going back? So the anatomy of the ick. Firstly, primal disgust response. Sometimes the ick is just biology doing its thing. Your body revolts before your mind even catches up. You might be kissing someone and suddenly the taste of their saliva makes you gag, or the smell of their breath changes and your stomach flips. Evolutionary psychology says disgust evolved to keep us from eating rotten food or mating with someone sick, but sometimes that wiring misfires in modern dating. One minute you're Netflix and chilling, and the next you're thinking, if this person touches me again, my skin's going to crawl and I feel like screaming. So then it can be boundary response, okay? So the ick can also be your psyche's way of saying, nope, not safe, not right, next. So imagine you're on a date and the person makes a really snide or rude remark to the waiter, or they casually dismiss something you care about. Suddenly their hand on yours feels slimy, creepy, and definitely not comforting. That's not avoidance, that's your nervous system putting up a boundary, saying, whoa, wrong territory, retreat. Then what I see is this one, the most common one, projection collapse. So attraction often runs on projection at the start. We then as humans fill the gaps with fantasy. Oh, he or she seems so charming, so maybe they're also emotionally available, kind, funny, spiritual, insert whatever. Then reality shows up. You see them pick their nose at traffic lights randomly, or you hear some kind of like weirdness in their voice on the phone. Fantasy collapses, the veil drops, and boom, you get the ick. Then it can be a loss of erotic charge. So sometimes the ick arrives because the spark has died. Desire, you see, needs polarity, space, and tension. But if you spend 3 days in each other's company, mystery can evaporate and suddenly their existence might irritate you. The same laugh that felt intoxicating last week now makes you want to hurl. It can also be unconscious memory trigger. Ever had the ick over something really tiny, a phrase, a look, or just something random that they did, and you cannot explain why, but it's unbearable? That's often an old memory surfacing. So maybe they remind you of a bullying sibling, a critical parent, or even a past abuser. Your psyche doesn't spell it out. It just gives you the gut level ick as shorthand. It can also be developmental defenses. Now, yes, sometimes it is a defense. Occasionally, the ick is intimacy hitting too close. So someone gets vulnerable, someone genuinely cares for you, and instead of leaning in, your psyche panics. Nope, we don't do closeness. Cue disgust as a get out of jail free card. That does not mean you're doomed to avoidance forever. It just means you've got a bit of work to do. It just means that the psyche sometimes prefers revulsion to vulnerability. And then we've got mismatched energies, i.e. incompatibility. So the ick can also just be really bad chemistry. Their nervous system doesn't harmonize with yours. Maybe they talk too fast or move too slow, or their touch feels offbeat with your particular rhythm. They haven't done anything wrong, but your body says, we don't sync. It's like trying to dance tango with somebody who keeps stepping on your toes. It just feels so exhausting and unattractive. This one is, I think the most important one, somatic wisdom, the instinctual alarm. So sometimes the ick is pure body wisdom. That creeping aversion can be a red flag your conscious mind hasn't spotted yet. Maybe you find out later they were lying about being single, or that they're financially reckless, or that they lack empathy. In hindsight, your ick was dead right. Your gut knew before you did. I have a memory over about a decade ago of meeting an individual and being told they were so incredibly nice and getting a profound sense of the ick. And it turned out that that person had stolen an awful lot of money from the person who introduced me to them. And I just had this instinctual alarm that went off inside of me. So that's an example from my relived experience of somatic wisdom. I was picking up on something in their energy field, and that is a true anecdote. So next I will come to shadow material. The ick can also be a mirror. You recoil from their neediness, but really it's your own disowned need being reflected back. Or perhaps their arrogance repels you because it mirrors the part of you that secretly craves power. So shadow projections can be brutal, and the ick is one of the ways they surface. And also I want to touch on erotic reversal. So this one's classic. Desire flips once the person is too available. They like you back, they want commitment, they're suddenly safe. And instead of settling in, you feel disgust. Often this comes from childhood templates where love was linked with distance or desire was always forbidden. Safety feels boring, so your psyche tries to make the safety repulsive. So erotic reversal is quite brutal because it turns love into a trap. The moment someone steps forward with warmth and availability, the other person's desire collapses. They were lit up by the chase, the distance, the fantasy. However, when the individual meets them with genuine reciprocity, bang, they get slammed. That's the cruel paradox of unresolved childhood templates. For some people, desire only survives where there is risk, mystery, or impossibility. Once love becomes safe, once the other person is actually truly there, their psyche translates it as boring or even repulsive. It's not about the individual being too nice or too available. It's about their erotic wiring being reversed. So this is often by early imprints where love was withheld and desire was always tangled with danger. So I hope that makes it really real and relatable to you. I see that one play out a lot. Then we've got two more, I suppose, that I want to touch on. Social conditioning, cultural scripts. So we are also trained into certain icks. Cultural disgust can masquerade as personal ones. So maybe you've absorbed shame about body hair or class prejudice or even food habits. The ick sometimes isn't instinct or intimacy defense, it's just cultural programming playing in your head. Scary but true. And then there is finally disillusionment with the self. So sometimes the ick is less about them and more about you. You look at the person and think, what am I doing with them? What on earth does this say about me? And the disgust that you feel isn't really towards the other person, it's towards yourself. They essentially become a screen for your own shame. So here's the thing. The ick, it can be wisdom or it can be a defense mechanism. Sometimes it's your gut trying to save you, and sometimes it's your psyche slamming the door on intimacy. The key is not to panic and not to make rash decisions in the heat of the recoil. Trust your intuition, but also test it. Give it a little time. Does the ick fade after a night's sleep, or does it deepen the more you're around them? If it's just a passing wobble, chances are it was projection or nerves. If it sticks, if your body keeps screaming no, well, you might want to listen to that. Here's how you can check yourself when the ick hits. So first do a body scan. Where do you feel it? Is it in your stomach, your skin, your throat? And what story is in your mind attaching to that sensation? If the sensation came first and the story followed, that's usually intuition. If the story was already there and your body joined in, that's often projection. So secondly, give it the time test. Step back. Does the feeling fade after rest or does it intensify with more contact? A fading ick is often simply nerves or defense mechanisms. A growing ick is usually a boundary or a warning sign. And finally, ask the mirror question. Is what repels me in them something that I secretly dislike in myself? If the answer is yes, well, that means you have to do work on your shadow. If it's a no, it's probably, possibly incompatibility or somatic wisdom trying to steer you away. So if you don't know what to do nothing. Pause, let the dust settle. Watch how the person behaves over time. Does their character confirm your body's reaction or does it, disprove it? Sometimes the ick is a false alarm. Sometimes it's the fire alarm you ignore at your peril. Your job is to wait, watch, and trust the truth that emerges because once you've had the ick, you cannot unfeel it, but you can decide whether it's an exit sign or just your psyche playing one of its old tricks. So the ick isn't random and it isn't shallow. It's either your intuition saving your life or your psyche sabotaging your love life. The wisdom is knowing which is which, because if you ignore the first, you're going to regret it. And if you obey the second, you'll simply die alone with your Netflix password. So choose wisely. So there you have it, a rapid rundown of the ick. I'm Annie, and if something here has struck a chord, take a little time to journal on it, see where it lands in your own story. And because this is still such a baby podcast, it would mean the world to me if you hit like, subscribe, follow, wherever you're listening. There is so much more coming, and wherever you are right now, I'm deeply grateful for your ears and your heart. Wishing you a beautiful day.